Alrighty guys, welcome to yet another video, and we are going to be discussing a tech tree, I suppose, that is, I kind of want to say controversial, but that's not exactly what I have in mind. There's a lot of mixed feelings when it comes to Sweden, and fully understandable. I completely get it. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of those people who complain about the Swedish tech tree don't really, well, play Sweden, to put it quite bluntly. Because once you play Sweden, you realize that, yes, although your reserve vehicle comes with an APDS round with 105 millimeters of penetration, that's quintessentially effective up until rank 4, you have to start with this. And this round, to be very honest with you, is absolutely bollocks at any objective. whether you're trying to pierce the front of a Matilda or trying to get through the front of a Panzer, it's equally useless. This round is not very good. Post sprawl is pretty decent, but the decent's a very generous description of it. It's not fantastic because it's an early sort of APC-BC round, or armor piercing capped ballistic round, or ballistic capped round. So whilst yes, Sweden does have access to APDS earlier than literally every other nation, it does also come with a balance, something that people tend to overlook. Swedish vehicles are very lightly armored, and this is a pretty good and safe blanket rule. The only exception to this would be when you start to reach your MBTs. So you start reaching your basically Centurions and your Danger Wedges and your Leos as well. So yes, Sweden is very powerful, especially with the APHE and the APDS round, the armor-piercing high explosive and armor-piercing discarding saber rounds. Yes, Sweden is very powerful, and they have some very powerful guns with those rounds. So PVKV2 is an excellent example, in fact, of this. If we take this out, more often than not, as you'll see, it's pretty broken. It's pretty broken because you can pen a lot of the things that, you know, kind of are like a little bit gimmicky, but at the same time, someone sneezes near you and you get killed. So yeah, I mean, Sweden is very powerful, but at the same time is also pretty weak. And I think that in and of itself is pretty balanced and unique, because not many nations have that. And that's obviously, with aircraft, it's more objective, or not objective but subjective. As long as you know how to fly an aircraft in the right way in air battle, you can use literally any aircraft. But the Swedish aircrafts, and in particular Swedish CAS, is pretty lethal, to say the very least. The B-17A, which for those who play France and Britain will be very similar to your V156, and it carries a 1-ton bomb. 500 kilo bomb, sorry. I see blue and I go 1 ton. So it carries a 500 kilo bomb, but at 4.3 there is also this. So yes, this is also a 600 kilo bomb, and then there's the 500 kilo bomb, but you can also then take rockets, which these rockets are pretty accurate, with a 215 nitrolite bomb. Now, if we quickly go over to Britain and we look at this, whilst yes, this is a 1,000-pound bomb, the explosive trait is tritonal, which is not as... So if we look at it on a chemical sort of level, nitrolite is more explosive and packs a bigger punch, just to put it quite plainly. So even if you're only using for your A21A3 a 600 kilo bomb or 600 pound bomb, it's more like 650, you know. So Swedish CAS is pretty dangerous if, again, you know how to use it. And what's pretty interesting is that you've got the B-18s and T-18s who essentially are flying tank guns, because there's a 57 mil, and then there's also, okay, you've got the 27 mils, and then there's one that has a slightly bigger caliber gun here somewhere. But I don't... Again, it comes back to, yes, Sweden is pretty potent when it comes to ordnance and when it comes to firepower, but it is also extremely fragile because they don't have combat-proven aircraft. So a lot of these designs are, whilst good in principle, especially the J21s and the A21s and such, the design mechanic, or design principle rather, whilst good on paper, it's really not great in a dogfight. More often than not, this thing not only gets outturned, gets outclimbed, and gets outrun. So the only time really you are going to be successful with Sweden is if you play it smart. And I think that's kind of where the issue, not to be mean or anything, but I think that's kind of where the issue comes in, is that people are not smart when they play Sweden. They play Sweden like they play the US. And if you haven't figured it out already, you have to play every nation a different play style. So that's kind of my little ramble. I got tired of people saying Sweden's overpowered when it's... Yes, it is overpowered, but it's also not overpowered. And I want to do a video on China as well, because China has just as much sort of heated argument around it. But I mean, yeah, this is probably the most broken tank, guys, to be blatantly honest. Where's the button to die? Forget things. That's my friends and I have a running joke about it. We call it the garage tank. So as you can see, it comes with the APHE, HE, and then APDS. But this tank is probably the most broken tank for one reason, and one reason only. It causes massive psychological damage to the enemy when they see it come around the corner. So other than this, I don't think there's any other particularly broken vehicle. I mean, aside from the fact that it has like almost zero recoil, there are worse nations, and I feel like Sweden is, while still a minor nation, I think Sweden's kind of almost the the savior, if you want to put it that way, for minor nations, because it allows, well, Sweden's entire existence is to deal with Russia and other heavy tanks, like the Russian 85s and KV-1s, etc. So I almost feel like Sweden's whole purpose is just to level the playing field. So that's my little 2 cents worth on Sweden. Should you play it? Yes. Is it expensive if you don't play it carefully, or if you don't play it smart? Also yes. Is it a lot of fun? Initially, no. Once you get past the base rounds, yes, it is extremely fun. Does Sweden's playstyle contribute mobility more than armor? Absolutely. You are not going to be able to take any sort of hits. You're not going to be able... I mean, unless you're in the PVKV M43 and similar casemates, because these things have a very peculiar phenomenon when receiving hits, particularly from Russians. It's a little bit weird. But other than this, no, you will not be able to take a hit. You rely solely on your mobility to keep you alive. And that's something very important with Sweden. It's a mobile nation. You need to be mobile in order to be successful. Once you get into a flanking position, can you utilize the very good gun and round? Yes, the only condition is unless you're using APHE, side shots are not going to be all too effective unless you target ammo racks. And is it worth flogging Sweden because it's such a small tech tree? Honestly, that's up to you. There are very few premiums within the Swedish tech tree to make it to make your life easier. I highly would recommend the Swedish starter pack because it contains the Focke-Wulf D13, I believe it is, and the I'll tell you now. Yeah, Stridsvagn M41 S1. And the other vehicle that comes with the starter pack is this D21. Sorry, my bad. So Swedish starter pack is very, very effective, especially at the BRs that it sits at. Yeah, I mean, that's really all you need to know. Sweden, it's an acquired taste. It's lots of fun. It's very dangerous. It's very fast. And it is very, very lethal. Most people tend to underrate Sweden purely because it's a minor nation and they see Sweden and they see that they have APDS and they kind of go, oh, but that's unfair. Why does Sweden have APDS? Totally accurate mimic of people. But look, I can't make that decision for you. I tend to like the weird and the wonderful, and my playstyle personally favors mobility over armor. I like to get out and get in and get out as quickly as possible, deal the most damage, and Sweden is the perfect nation if that is exactly your playstyle. So I hope this helps you guys out. I hope I see more Swedish players coming through because, like I said, guys, Sweden is very underrated and a very misunderstood nation. And yeah, I mean, you can't really go wrong with Sweden other than just being stupid. Like, you can't rush in. It does require a little bit of a patient and tactical awareness sort of mindset in order to make full use of the lovely APDS shell and the mobility that Sweden provides. So you'll see here now the exact example that I was talking about. So we're playing on the map, and whilst yes, we do have an APDS shell loader that you can see. So you can see that although it's an APDS
3 round AT delay in effect, 3 guns. Bravo, 2 rounds, 2 guns, smoke on effect.
I kind of want to say it's a primitive APDS shell, but even for medium tank, the Largo is still one of the It's boasts excellent mobility and generally speaking, fairly decent survivability. Now you'll see here the KV-1 on the top that perhaps due to the angle of attack, a great shot this morning, I struggled to pin. And maybe I still should have, technically speaking, gone through that upgrade. And that is something that people fail to understand. Now you see this will be a shot will come from the right here. And I want you to take notes. See how much damage it does. The Largo is a medium tank, and as such, it doesn't have heavy tank armor by any stretch of the imagination. But I mean, you could see there how I was dispatched by several different tanks, and irrespective of how much fire one takes, I mean, the Sherman does pretty well, and it's medium. So, like I said, guys, Sweden is fairly supposed to be able to look past the bias of, oh, it has APDS. But anyway, guys, I'll see you in the next one. And in the meantime, if you enjoyed this content, please feel free to leave a like and sub. And this is also what the algorithm suggests next week.